Hey now! What is up, everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka Review King, and in Smallville Rewind, we have a good episode to talk about today because I just got done watching this episode, Zero. Zero is an episode that I remembered in parts, or at least vaguely remembered the premise and sort of what it surrounded, as far as digging into Lex's past, finding out some deep, dark secrets that they have alluded to. They have referenced and mentioned that Lex has secrets in his past, but specifically this one from this club. So I couldn't wait to get down into it because it starts off with Lex hanging upside down in a straitjacket, which isn't the last time we see Lex, unfortunately, wearing a straitjacket. But he's hanging upside down. He's being almost interrogated by this guy that we don't know who it is. And the guy wants to know what happened at Club Zero. We cut to this flashback of Lex bringing this girl, obviously attractive girl, to the club, and they're talking about how she's engaged. And at first it's like, wait, is Lex like openly with this girl who's cheating with Lex? Like, what's going on here? Come to find out though that no, it seems like maybe they're just friends. He says they're there to celebrate her engagement. She looks over and she sees her fiance who's there with two other women. He lied and said that he was going to be away on business, so she gets pissed, goes up to him, flips her shit, goes off, and then the guy says something interesting to Lex, where he says, "You did this on purpose, didn't you?" And at first I thought Lex was going to say, "Oh, what do you mean? What are you talking about?" But no, he says, "She deserves somebody better." So Lex did, in fact, do this, and maybe it's implied there that Lex is trying to get with this girl, so he did this to really break them up and fuck this guy over. Now, granted, I don't feel bad for this guy because he was, in fact, cheating. It wasn't like Lex created this. He just, once again, showed her. So the guy goes up to Lex, attacks him, stabs him, like in the shoulder. And then in this version, we see Lex's like bodyguard, or maybe he's a bouncer at the club, shoots the guy dead. We cut back to Lex upside down, and the guy says, "That's bullshit. That's not what really happened. Tell the truth. Tell the truth." And we cut into the show because that's in the future. This is what, a week or so beforehand. And we find out the guy that's sort of ringing hell on Lex right now is named Jude Royce. It's the same guy that died at that night at the club, and somehow he's back haunting Lex. First, we see Jude go to the Talon. That's the name of this place that Lana is opening. And the Talon, I remember the Talon. We're going to see so much of this goddamn Talon. I hope we enjoy it. And so it's very creepy how he goes there and he's talking to Lana. He fakes applying to the place, but he really seems like he just wants to tell her his name and to stay away from Lex, that he's dangerous. And then the bouncer guy goes up to Lex outside and says he just saw the dude that died at that night. And I love that Lex is kind of freaking out because he's like, we're in public, shouldn't be talking about this. He even sees Clark arriving like down the street, doesn't want Clark to know anything. Even when Lex goes up to Clark after and Clark says, "Hey, who was that?" And Lex says, "It was nobody." Like, basically, don't worry about it. And for all of me feeling bad for Lex, given that Clark has not and will not tell him his own secret, Lex is just as bad, right? Lex is not telling Clark anything. He's not confiding to Clark. As much as it's Lex's story of, hey, we're friends, we should be able to tell each other anything and everything, you can trust me, blah, blah, blah. He can't even trust Clark with this. Now, granted, maybe there is something to what Lex says later when he says that I didn't want to involve you in this, that this is shady and dangerous type stuff, that I want to move past. So, sure, there could be something to that. But there's so many times when Clark is trying to get Lex to tell him, and Lex just kind of refuses. And there's even a moment when they go into the Talon. Lana tells Lex what happened, the guy's name, so that freaks Lex out. Lex goes to leave. In his car, somehow this Jude guy jammed Lex's stereo system, so it's blasting out a song that's just yelling out murderer and killer. Kind of ridiculous. I like that Clark, though, used his X-ray vision. I'm going to forever point out how much I like Clark using his X-ray vision to find what the problem was, told Lex how to stop it. And before we go any further, there is a scene that was kind of wild. So there's this contractor guy that Lana talks to fix this leak that's going on at the building before the grand opening, right, of the Talon. And there's a scene where they're supposed to go and meet with the contractor. And the contractor's inside, knocked out, laid out. And supposedly it was broken into by this Jude guy, and he left a box, a present for Lex. And the present is the severed hand of the bouncer guy. So I'm guessing that that bouncer is dead. Once again, Clark is like, what the hell is going on here, Lex? Care to tell me? And Lex says, no, I'm not talking about this. It's like, God damn it. You both are to blame. You both are just as bad. And there is a plot B, though. I want to mention this because this is the one portion that I didn't remember anything on. I might have partially remembered that this episode uncovers this incident that happens with Lex and that there was a death and whatnot, but I didn't remember the details. This side plot I had no memory of at all, where Chloe, there's this thing about they all have papers to write about somebody. I don't know if they got to pick it or if it was random. Clark got his paper on Lana, surprise, surprise, so he's spending more time than usual. Or is it than usual? Because he just spends a lot of time with Lana in general. More time, seemingly, than her own boyfriend. And he's writing a paper on her. Chloe has her paper on Clark. And I actually like this because it once again shows more of Chloe's reporter instinct and just how much she's willing to do and capable of doing in order to discover something. And she wants to interview Clark. He keeps brushing her off until she just shows up at his house, and when he arrives there, she's already interviewing the Kents, which I thought was hilarious. And I love the look on Martha's face when her and Jonathan are just sitting there having to answer these questions, and Chloe brings up the adoption and the details on the adoption and how the process was and what that was like, and they're like, oh, about that, Chloe. Chloe, once again, very intuitive, very good at her, not even job, but hopefully future job. And then there's a moment where Chloe goes to Clark and reveals to him that she found out all of this information. The parents didn't tell her anything, right? So she went and researched, and she can find anything on this goddamn computer. She researched and found out that he was adopted through this like United whatever company that was only around for 6 months. And that closed right after. And as far as she could tell, Clark was the only adoption that went on through this thing. Like, it's so sketchy and wild. And she's like, what is all of this? And even Clark didn't know that detail. I did like, though, that Clark got mad at her because it is a little sketchy, right? As much as I like Chloe, as much as I do like her spunkness and her just the energy that she's bringing to it, it is invasive. It is fucked up for a friend to sort of try to get that personal on her own, searching him up. So he got mad, and I think she kind of understood that. So we get back to, this time it's another flashback of Lex thinking back on what happened there. And I actually really like this scene where after the guy was killed, that dirty cop from a few episodes ago, the one that found out about Clark's secret and tried to blackmail him into doing stuff for him, and the guy ends up getting killed. Well, he was present at this scene. And because he's a dirty cop, because he gets paid by Lionel Luthor, Lex uses this guy to cover everything up. So that's what this guy knew about Lex. That's what he had on him. And it was kind of refreshing to see this actor back, even though it's the only time that we probably see him again. We've only seen him one other time, but it was still like, oh, I recognize that guy. And here's their relationship, or here's how they know each other. That's pretty cool. I kind of wish the show did more stuff like that, and maybe they do, and I just don't really remember it. So we see this scene really shocked me, where Clark is talking to Jonathan, and Jonathan notices that there's a herd over the hill that he does not hear, that they should be here at this time, but they're not. And the camera pans over the hill to see all of the herd of cows dead. Like, it looked like a scene from a horror movie. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've seen a horror movie where this exact thing happened. And it was freaky. You come to find out that a bunch of like toxins from Luthor Corp were dumped onto this area and killed all of the cows and the crops and whatnot. And what's going on? The scene where Lex is trying to apologize to Jonathan, but Jonathan does not give a fuck. He's like, fuck you, Lex. Not in those words, but he definitely has that vibe, that tone. And you see that somebody is supposed to talk to Lex. And this is weird, right? Because this is kind of in front of everybody. I mean, yeah, they walk off to the side, but it's not far from where everybody is. And it's this Jude Royce guy who he's pretending to be a part of this place. And he tasers Lex, throws him in his van, and drives away. I'm like, nobody saw that? What? Even later on, we see that Chloe took pictures. She was there. She was taking pictures. And she saw the guy. She took a picture of the guy. But somehow missed this? We're just going to have to go along with that, I guess, and just pretend like that is really the case. Clark is talking to Chloe. He sees her picture of this guy and recognizes Royce from the newspaper that covered his death from 3 years ago. What? How is that the same guy? He's supposed to be dead. You cut to Lex hanging upside down. Again, the beginning of the episode. We're finally here in real time. And Lex decides to tell the truth on what happened, right? The truth is that Amanda, the girl, the fiance, she's the one that shot Jude. She's the one that killed him. Lex only told the cop that it was him because he knew that his father would pay to make it go away. Lex was trying to protect this girl. Here's the twist. Come to find out, the contractor, this is fucking crazy. This is like one of the middle to lower end Saw level twist reveals where the contractor from the earlier portion, he is the brother of Amanda. And Amanda, who couldn't live with the fact that she killed the fiance, she committed suicide recently. So her brother came here, did all of this charade to fuck with Lex, to make his life a living hell. The Jude guy who was back from the dead, who we saw doing all this stuff, because the whole time I'm trying to figure out, I didn't remember. Like, is this all in Lex's head? Or is this somehow a shapeshifter like Tina Greer? Like, who is doing this and who is able to pull off this dead person being back? But then earlier, Clark had overheard this guy talking to Lex when Jude confronted Lex and threatened him. But when Clark came in, the guy was gone. So he didn't see him, but he heard him. So I was very thrown off. So this Jude guy is just a lookalike. The brother, the contractor, found this guy who looked just like the guy who died and paid him to come here and pretend to be Jude resurrected. What? This is where it kind of falls apart for me. This is where it kind of goes like, all right, this is kind of forced and dumb. Everything else, though, the build up to it was good and interesting enough to where I'm going to forgo it. I'm going to just go along with it. But man, did we need another rough draft, another pass at this ending, at this twist, because I feel like we could have done something a little better than that. But okay, fine. So the brother wants to kill Lex, and I love that Clark arrives. And this is really cool. I actually had to rewind this to make sure I saw what I saw. Clark zooms in, kicks a couch to go underneath Lex as he's falling off the balcony, runs up the stairs to knock the guy out, runs back downstairs, goes out the door, and then comes back in pretending like he's just arriving, yelling Lex's name. I'm like, whoa, goddamn Clark. That was pretty goddamn smart. And just like he thought that very quick thinking there. He saves Lex. Lex is freaking out about the guy with the gun, but they look upstairs. He's knocked out. Clark obviously did very well here. And you cut to the grand opening of the Talon. Lana, she's a girl in high school. What are they? Freshmen, sophomores by this point? She's in high school and she's running this place. How? How does she have the time? How is this going to work? Is it only going to open like at 4 o'clock and then she's going to go to school and then come straight here and then run this place until close? When does she have time to do anything or to do homework or like what? Being a high school kid, this is way too much responsibility. I know it sounds like it's a nitpicky thing, but this is impractical. You don't even see Lana's aunt, who I think she mentioned in the previous episode that her aunt might want to help out or be involved, but like, is her aunt going to be the one running it? Because where the fuck is she? And when Clark arrives there, he catches Lana talking to somebody, and it's funny. We get a Whitney sighting. We see him for 0.01 second. They brought in this guy to come in to pretend like he's talking to whoever Lana was talking to, only for her to notice Clark walk into the door and tell them that she has to go, and she goes and talks to Clark. Again, maybe Whitney has a point because Lana's all about Clark's attention as well, and Clark gives her a gift of a picture of from when the Talon first opened years ago, blah blah blah. Lex is also there, and there's a moment where Clark is kind of like, what really went on? Is that the truth? And Lex says, I would do anything to protect my friends, which I think that's something. It's a situation where is Lex to be trusted? Is that the case? If Clark told Lex the truth, would Lex have his side or defend him or protect him or do whatever it takes? We'll never know. But at this moment right now, when Lex does say that, I want to believe him. I want to trust him. And I want to think that there is a chance. Still, even though I'm rewatching this and I know what happens, I want to think there's a chance that maybe they could have been friends for the rest of time. We cut to Chloe, who's back at the torch, and she's looking at her computer, and it's the Clark adoption papers, the information. And she's going back and forth, delete or save, and boom, boom, boom. And I genuinely didn't remember what she does. And she chooses to save the documents. I didn't remember that. I don't remember that. I don't remember what happens or what's to come of that. What does she plan on doing with that information? What is she going to do with that information? What would Clark think finding out that she's not only keeping this document, but maybe further investigating or looking into him after this could ruin their friendship? I don't know what to think about that, Chloe. I like you, Chloe. I want to trust you, Chloe. But that's some shady shit right there. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below, what did you think of Zero? I quite enjoyed it. I think this episode was very solid, especially when you have an episode that surrounds one of the main characters and it's about them or it's their backstory or it's learning more about their secrets or whatever. That's always a winner. You're always going to get a thumbs up when you cover something like that. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later.